circle, across the circle, intercepted by Liz Ellis. Well read, Liz Ellis. Joe Morgan, a goal shooter from fairway out. Liz Ellis with the rebounds. The shot is off target.
Liz never wanted to play netball when she was young, and it wasn't until a concerned family friend raised the alarm that Liz's mum, Margaret, insisted her daughter sign up with the local team.
When I was younger, I was incredibly uncoordinated. I was gangly. I liked reading. I wasn't very sociable. So she was of the opinion that A, I wouldn't like sport, and B, I'd hate team sport. So when one of her friends called her up and said, "Does Liz want to play netball?" Mum's first reaction was, well, no. And then this friend ran back and said, I've just read a report that most kids who end up in homes as juvenile delinquents have never played team sport. And Mum was like, oh, well, in that case, she'd better play. So I have no idea what she thought I'd end up as. Anyway, it's kept me out of a home, hasn't it? I haven't been turned into a juvenile delinquent.
Margaret and Ralph Ellis made a wise decision. Not only did their daughter love the game, she's now goalkeeper for the Sydney Swifts and Australia, the best netball team in the world. And since Liz made the national team in 1993, she's discovered another reason why her parents were so reluctant to encourage her into sport.
I was diagnosed as an asthmatic when I was about 2 or 3, and the doctor said to Mum and Dad, whatever you do, don't make a big thing out of it, just give her a medication, tell her that she's a mild asthmatic, almost pretend she doesn't have it, because he figured that if they mollycoddled me, then I'd grow up as a sickly child. So they did exactly the opposite, and it wasn't until I was about 20 or 22 when I first got into the Australian team that Grace Bryant, our team doctor, informed me that no, I wasn't a mild asthmatic, I was actually a severe asthmatic. So I've got sort of 18 years of sympathy to catch up on from my parents.
They've followed Liz around the world to watch her play, but Margaret and Ralph pride themselves in being more than just devoted fans.
Are you also her greatest critics?
Yep, particularly her mother, because I've never played netball, but Mother has.
So after the game, you give her a bit of a report on what she's done?
And sometimes she cops it and sometimes she doesn't. She'll listen. She's still young enough to take a bit of advice.
They certainly do keep me honest at the end of a game, and I have a bit of a bad habit sometimes of throwing the ball to no one, so Dad's decided to call that the phantom. So if I do it a couple of times during the game, at the end of the game I get, well, Liz, the phantom was out tonight. Thanks, Dad.
Liz's younger sister Kath also plays netball. She's never taken it as seriously as Liz, although she's enjoyed sharing her success.
A lot of people mistake me for Liz. I get stopped in the street or at netball games and ask for autographs, so I've just started signing them, going, yeah, here's Liz Ellis' signature. But yeah, there's a lot of ways we are similar, a lot of ways we differ as well, which is always a good thing.
And this is Matthew, the man who in December will marry Liz Ellis. A back injury destroyed his rugby career, but the former state and national player actually met his bride-to-be in the prime of his career.
I don't know if it was love at first sight, because I really initially, when I met him, thought he was a bit of a bullfed, bullfed footy player. And we're up in Armidale at the sports camps they have up there each year, and Matt was up there coaching rugby and I was up there coaching netball, and Matthew believes that, or he tells me that he took one look at me and it wasn't love at first sight, but he sort of looked at me and thought, well, there's nothing about her that's unpleasant, so she must be all right.
But the first thing she did was try to hit me, so that sent mixed sort of messages, I must say.
She was playing hard to get.
She was actually, she should have been packing down in the second row of a mixed scrum, and when I went to bind as I would, she wasn't having a bar of that. We had to get the referee to actually explain to her that's what you do.
6.5 years later, they're still a team and will soon commit to a lifelong partnership. A radiant bride, A vivacious one too. Liz loves a laugh, and her ability to appreciate the lighter side of life has helped her through some testing times, especially in her sporting career.
Particularly in a team sport, you know, when you go away and you're away for a month or 6 weeks or something like that, and different personalities come into play, it's been a great advantage for me to be able to just laugh and walk away rather than get caught up into things or get upset. And I find that just laughter is the best remedy for anything, and I've copped a bit of criticism in the past that I'm too happy to laugh, like I'm too prepared to laugh in a serious situation and, you know, job interviews and things like that. And he won the second race by 5 1,000ths of a second. So
5 1,000.
So being a mathematician, can you sort of give us an indication, a technical term for how close that is?
Okay, technically speaking, that's like bugger all. It's like really...
A couple of mornings a week, Liz begins her working day on breakfast radio.
It's such a good experience, and it's good to be able to get on there and talk about other sports as well. I think it would be pretty easy to be pigeonholed as someone who knows only about netball, but occasionally I stuff things up, and that happens when you don't know, too much about other sports, but it's so much fun. I absolutely love it.
Liz might be best known for her netball, but she spends more time in a different court, as a solicitor with one of Sydney's leading law firms.
So I knew that I needed a career path because with netball it's professional in name, but at the moment we haven't got the big dollars rolling in, so something had to pay the rent. And my parents always encouraged me to go to university and further my education, and I had read a book about a lawyer who, stood up for truth, justice and the American way, because of course it was an American book, and it sounded really, really glamorous. She was a public prosecutor or something, and I thought, yeah, that's the go.
Well, we've had about everything sensational you can have in this game, and Ellis sorts it out. Gives us another chance.
Australia won netball's inaugural Commonwealth Games gold medal last year, beating New Zealand. In February, the Kiwis struck back, claiming victory over Australia for the first time in half a decade. Later this year, both sides will contest the World Championships, with Australia out to defend its crown. Then, Captain Vicky Wilson will retire from international duty, and the Australian team will search for a new leader. Liz Ellis is certainly a contender, having been named Australia's most valuable player for 2 of the past 3 years. But taking over the top job isn't her first priority.
If I was chosen, I would be rapt. It would be a fantastic honour. But if I'm not chosen, I'll give my full support to the person who is. But that's not something that I think about a lot. My goal this year is to win the World Championships, to get one back on the Kiwis.